Hello, and welcome to Bitesized Podcast. I'm your host, Zandalee. Before we dig into some serious nutrition subjects, I wanted to lay some groundwork. Consider this like the gathering of ingredients for the best pie ever. I think I've decided that the best pie is blueberry, but I do reserve the right to change my mind. Remember, while not everything I say in every episode will apply to every person, because nutrition is not a one-size-fits-all, I do want you to take what you will and apply it to your life and your lifestyle however you see fit, and talk to your healthcare practitioner if you have questions. This week, we are covering the Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen. I'm sure it's something you've already heard about because it is not a new subject, but I do feel like it can be helpful when starting your nutrition journey. I want to be mindful that food costs have skyrocketed in the recent months, especially if you're in North America, I'm sure across the world, and eating organic is definitely a privilege. It does make me sad to think that this type of food, high quality food, is inaccessible to so many people, and if you do have the opportunity or the chance to eat organic, you really should consider it a blessing. Not everybody can, and I don't want you to feel like I'm condemning you if you're unable to afford that kind of lifestyle. This is just general information to teach you about the food process and the types of food that are available in the grocery stores now. I'm just here to give you all of the information you need so that you can make the best choices for you and your family with what you can. So organic means that it's essentially grown without genetic modification or engineering. These kinds of foods are going to be herbicide-free, pesticide-free, fungicide-free, all those kinds of things. There will be no chemical or synthetic fertilizers involved in the growing process, making the food just that much more real, quote unquote. So when shopping for produce, this is our ideal standard, but again, I know not everybody can afford that, and that's where the Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen comes into play. So a trick to knowing if something is actually organic is to check the sticker label. Every produce item should have a label on it. I'm assuming probably not at the farmer's market or, in your backyard, but most produce in the grocery store should have a sticker on it. The first number on these stickers will actually tell you a lot about the type of food. If it has a 9 in the front, it's organic. If it has a 3 or a 4 in the front, it's conventional produce. If it has an 8 in the front, that means it's genetically modified. So these lists were created by the Environmental Working Group. The EWO is a nonprofit organization that is fighting for the lives of consumers to eat better food in a better environment. They played a major role in influencing actual legislation to ensure that our most vulnerable are protected from pesticide use in food, which is our children. Unfortunately, conventional agriculture does use pesticides, which is the majority of the produce that you'll find in the grocery store. Pesticide use has been linked to really negative health impacts, including cancer, cardiovascular disease, and other negative health impacts. Enter the Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen. The Clean 15 is, you guessed it, a list of 15 produce items that are found to be fairly safe from the conventional side of produce. This means that they are the least contaminated with pesticides. This list includes avocados, sweet corn, pineapple, papaya, onion, sweet peas, asparagus, honeydew, cantaloupe, kiwi, mushrooms, mangoes, cabbage, watermelon, and sweet potatoes. Obviously, I'm not expecting you to write this down because if you're like me, you're listening to the podcast in the car, so don't write it down. There will be a graphic linked in the show notes as well as the website to the EWG that you can check out the full lists. As a note, sweet corn and papaya, while they may contain less pesticide use, they tend to also be genetically modified, so be sure to check those sticker labels. Now, the Dirty Dozen. Obviously, if the Clean 15 were 15 clean items, this is a dozen dirty items. These are the 12 items on the conventional side of produce that are going to have the highest amount of pesticide use that you're going to want to avoid. This is where choosing organic might come into play. So if you're shopping for any of these items, try and see if you can purchase from the organic aisle or from a farmer's market or a local farm or grow them yourself. This list includes strawberries, spinach, kale, collard, and mustard greens, nectarines, apples, grapes, peppers, cherries, peaches, pears, celery, and tomato. Now, obviously, if we add 15 and 12 together, we only get 27. This is not an extensive list of every produce item out there. So you might be asking, what about the ones we didn't mention? My recommendation is to buy organic when possible, and if you can't, I highly recommend ensuring that you wash and scrub your produce the best you can. Washing your produce applies for all produce, no matter how you're buying it. While some things like raspberries and mushrooms aren't going to soak and scrub well, other items like apples and watermelons definitely will. So here's a recipe for you, which again will be linked either on my Instagram, website, in the show notes. Go and check it all out. The ideal method is 1 teaspoon of baking soda to 2 cups of water. This won't alter the taste of any of your produce, it'll just help get the grime, dirt, bugs, pesticides all off of there. Obviously, a time saver would be to do it all at once. However, if you're not going to consume some of these foods right away, you might want to save them for when you're about to consume them, like raspberries. Rinsing raspberries, they're probably not going to last a very long time. So ensure that you are using your logic and figuring out when you're going to eat these things and the best time to wash them. So as I mentioned a bit before, there are some negative health impacts with pesticide consumption from conventional produce, but you might be wondering even more why you should eat organic. Pesticide use has also been linked to fertility issues as well as defective birth outcomes. A study done in 2019 found that those who ate a more organic diet were found to have less incidence of infertility, birth defects, allergies, preeclampsia, and other negative health impacts. If you'd like to read more on that study, I will also have it linked in the show notes. Again, I want to reiterate that not everybody is capable of eating organic for whatever reason, and I want to encourage you to not feel guilty about that. I know that you are doing the best you can with what you know. So my challenge for you this week is check your grocery list, look at your produce, and ask yourself which ones you can swap. Be sure to double check with the Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen list. And as a freebie for you, I have a complimentary free to you download of a grocery list that you can make at home. It's got a bunch of resources on there. So be sure to head to my website. There is a link in the show notes that you can download my grocery list and guide, and that will help you shop better. If you did miss last week's episode on balancing your meals, be sure to head to that one and listen. It's an excellent resource on ensuring that your plate is well balanced and just a fun listen. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, follow us on all of the platforms at bitesized.podcast, and I can't wait to see you again next week. And in case no one's told you today, you look radishing. Bye! Although I am a certified holistic nutrition consultant, I am not yours. It is not specified to you and your health needs. While I strive to provide the most accurate and up-to-date information regarding nutrition, this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not substitute professional medical advice.